I never imagined my own mother would one day look me in the eye, or rather, tell me over the phone with that chillingly casual voice that my children weren't welcome at our family Thanksgiving. It was still a few weeks away, and her tone was late, almost sing-song when she called. "Sarah, honey, we need to sort out the details for Thanksgiving this year." For a moment, my heart warmed. Despite all the little tensions, the veiled comparisons that had always existed between me and my brother David, I still longed for these moments, for tradition. My children, Leo, 8, and little Lily, 5, adored their grandparents, even if their relationship always had a touch of distant formality, imposed more by the elders than by them. "Of course, Mom. What's the plan?" I asked, already picturing the house filled with the smell of roast turkey, cinnamon, and pumpkin pie. That warmth only a family gathering has. There was a pause. Short, but enough to send a shiver down my spine. "Well, dear," she continued, clearing her throat, "this year we're doing things a little differently." My smile faltered. "It's going to be a smaller dinner, just the adults, something more intimate." I frowned. "Oh, so no kids at all?" Another pause. A little longer. A cold knot began to form in my stomach. "What do you mean, Mom?" My voice was already a bit tense. Mom sighed, as if she was the one being put in an uncomfortable position. "Sarah, we love your kids. We really do. But they're a bit, energetic. And honestly, we just think it would be better if you got a sitter for them this year." I gripped the kitchen counter, feeling the cool granite under my fingers. "So, just my kids. What about David's?" David, my older brother, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, even when he stumbled badly. Her hesitation was the confirmation. "David and Karen are coming with their kids, yes, but you know how well-behaved Josh and Emily are, Sarah. They're just quieter, more refined. It's easier to have them at the table." A wave of heat flushed through me. I felt like I'd been slapped, like the floor had suddenly vanished from under me. "They're children, Mom." My voice came out choked, restrained. "Leo is 8, Lily is 5. Of course they have energy, but they're sweet and they love you." "We're just trying to have a peaceful evening, Sarah," my mother replied, her tone now clipped, irritated that I wasn't just accepting it. "It's nothing personal." Nothing personal. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the sharp words fighting to escape. It wasn't just Thanksgiving. It was the way they'd always treated my children like an afterthought while putting David's kids on a pedestal. The way they went to Josh's school plays, but never showed up for Lily's dance recitals. The way birthday presents for his kids were always a little more expensive, a little more thoughtful. And now, they weren't even hiding it anymore. "I can't believe this," I whispered. "You're actually telling me my kids aren't welcome, but David's are?" "Oh, Sarah, don't be dramatic," she sighed. "It's just one dinner. You and Mark are still invited, of course." I almost laughed at the absurdity. They wanted me there, but not the two people I loved most in this world. I swallowed hard. "No, Mom. If my kids aren't welcome, then neither am I." A long silence stretched between us. Then, my mother exhaled sharply, as if I was being unreasonable. "Suit yourself." And she hung up. I stood there, staring at the phone, my breath unsteady. I could hear my kids in the living room, giggling as they built a pillow fort, oblivious to the fact that their grandparents, the ones they adored, had just cast them aside like an inconvenience. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I had spent my whole life trying to fit into my parents' world, playing by their rules, hoping that if I just did everything right, they would finally see me as equal to David. But it had never been enough, and I was done trying. The next morning, I woke up to a text from my brother, David. "Ma said you're being difficult about Thanksgiving. Why do you always have to make everything so dramatic?" I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. "Oh, so she told you she uninvited my kids, but invited yours." The typing bubbles appeared, then stopped. A minute passed before he finally responded.
"David just wants a calm dinner, Sarah. You know how your kids can be. A lot. A lot. Like they were a burden. Like they were something to be tolerated, not loved." Something inside me snapped. "Enjoy your perfect Thanksgiving, David. I won't be there." I turned off my phone before he could respond. They didn't want me or my children at their table? Fine. I wouldn't be part of their world at all. And they were about to find out what that really meant. For years, I had been the reliable one, the one who always helped when they needed something. When my parents needed someone to pick up their groceries because Dad's back was acting up, they called me. When their Wi-Fi stopped working, I was the one who drove over to fix it. When they wanted help organizing their anniversary party, I was the one stuck making calls and running errands. And David? He got to be the golden child, doing the bare minimum while reaping all the rewards. But if I wasn't part of their preferred family, then they weren't going to benefit from me anymore. A week before Thanksgiving, my mother called again. I debated ignoring it, but finally answered. "Hello? Sarah," she said, her tone cautious. "I just wanted to check in. I know you were upset, but I really hope you'll reconsider. We'd love to have you and Mark there." Not you and Mark, just you and Mark. I took a deep breath. "I meant what I said, Mom. If my kids aren't welcome, neither am I." She sighed heavily, as if I were exhausting her. "I just don't understand why you're being so stubborn. It's just one night. You know how much Josh and Emily mean to us." And there it was, the final, painful confirmation that my children, the two little humans I loved more than anything, would never be enough for her. I clenched my jaw. "You've made it clear where we stand, Mom. I won't bother you again." "Sarah, don't be like this." I ended the call before she could finish. And this time, I didn't cry. I started small. When my dad called me that weekend to help him set up the new smart TV David had gifted them, a gift I suspected had come from some past financial help of mine, I let the call go to voicemail. When my mom sent a text asking if I could pick up her prescription from the local pharmacy, I left it on read. For years, I had been at their beck and call, always available, always reliable. But not anymore. And it didn't take long for them to notice. By the time Thanksgiving morning rolled around, I had missed a total of about 12 calls and ignored 6 texts. Then, while Mark and I were making a special breakfast with the kids, crafting pancakes shaped like stars and turkeys, I got a message from David. "Mom and Dad are really upset that you're ignoring them. Are you seriously going to let this go this far?" It already went too far when they told me my kids weren't welcome. This time, he didn't reply. I put my phone on silent and turned my attention to my real family. Leo and Lily were at the table helping Mark mix pancake batter, covered in flour, laughing hysterically. This was our Thanksgiving, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. But little did I know, my parents weren't done yet, and their next move would be something I'd never forgive. Thanksgiving morning was peaceful, in a way I hadn't experienced in years. No rushing to get the kids dressed in their best clothes, no stress over making the perfect side dish, no anxious glances at the clock to make sure we weren't late. Instead, we were in our own little world, our home filled with laughter, the smell of pancakes and maple syrup hanging in the air. Leo and Lily took turns stirring the batter, while Mark flipped the pancakes with exaggerated skill, making them giggle every time he almost dropped one. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. "Mom." I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, it rang again. And then again. Mark shot me a concerned look. "Want me to turn it off?" I hesitated, then shook my head. No, if it's an emergency, I should at least know. I swiped to answer, keeping my voice flat. What is it, Mom? Oh, now you pick up, she huffed. I suppose you're just sitting at home feeling sorry for yourself while we're all here having a lovely dinner? I sighed. Mom, if you called to gloat, I really don't have time. That's not why I called. Her tone turned sharp. I need to ask you something. I pinched my bridge of my nose. What now? Did you cancel the credit card? The room suddenly felt very still. I turned away from Mark and lowered my voice. What are you talking about? Your father's credit card, the one we've been using for groceries, gas, essential things, it was declined this morning at the ATM. A slow, icy realization crept up my spine. The credit card she was talking about wasn't theirs. It was mine. Years ago, when Dad was recovering from back surgery and money was tight, I had added them as authorized users on my account, temporarily, just to help them through a rough patch. I had meant to remove them when they got back on their feet financially, but life got busy. David started helping them in other ways, probably with my money indirectly, and I had forgotten. And they had never reminded me. I clenched my jaw. You mean my credit card? A pause. Then my mother scoffed. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Sarah. It's just a card. You make good money, and we figured... You figured what? My voice was shaking now. That you just keep using my money? That I wouldn't notice? Oh, don't act like this is some big betrayal. We raised you. The least you could do is support us now. I inhaled sharply. Are you serious? After telling me my kids weren't good enough to come to Thanksgiving, you still expected me to keep paying for your groceries? Are you even hearing yourself? My mother let out a long, dramatic sigh. You know what, Sarah? This is exactly why we don't like having difficult conversations with you. You always overreact. Overreact. I was done.
You're right about one thing, I said, my voice dangerously calm. I did cancel the card. And since we're having honest conversations now, let me make something very clear. You won't see another cent from me. Ever. My mother gasped, as if I had slapped her. Sarah, don't be ridiculous. I cut her off. And while we're at it, don't expect birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, or anything else either. You made your choice when you told me my kids weren't welcome. And now I'm making mine. Silence. Then, in a voice colder than I'd ever heard from her, she said, You'll regret this. And then she hung up. For a moment, I just stood there, gripping the phone so tightly my fingers ached. Then, slowly, I turned back toward the kitchen. Mark was watching me carefully. Everything okay? I forced a small smile. Yeah, I said, voice steadier than I felt, just taking out the trash. He didn't ask any more questions. We spent the rest of the day in our own Thanksgiving, watching movies, baking cookies, playing board games. And for the first time in years, there was no underlying stress, no need to walk on eggshells, no pressure to be someone I wasn't. But as peaceful as it was, something told me this wasn't over. And I was right, because my parents weren't just going to let their golden source of money walk away. And their next move would prove exactly what kind of people they really were. Sarah's really started to turn the tables. If you want to see how far this story goes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. The silence for my parents didn't last long. 3 days after Thanksgiving, my phone lit up with an incoming call. David. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity got the best of me. I exhaled sharply and answered. What do you want? What the hell, Sarah? He snapped, skipping any pleasantries. Mom just called me in tears, saying you cut them off financially. What is wrong with you? I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. Did she also tell you that they've been using my credit card for years without my explicit and ongoing knowledge? A pause. Well, she said you were helping them out. Helping them out? I let out a humorless laugh. David, they've racked up a considerable debt on my account without asking, month after month, while treating my kids like garbage. But sure, let's act like I'm the bad guy here. He sighed, clearly trying to control his frustration. Look, I get that you're mad, but cutting them off completely? That's extreme. You mean the way they completely excluded my kids from Thanksgiving? I shot back. They just wanted a peaceful evening, Sarah. Mom said your kids can be a little wild. My grip on the phone tightened. Oh, I see. So they can use my money, but my kids aren't good enough for their table. Got it. He groaned. You're twisting this. No, David. I'm finally seeing it for what it is. There was a long pause. Then his voice turned calculating. Look, maybe we can work something out. What if you just kept helping them but set limits, like a smaller monthly transfer? That way no one has to suffer over a misunderstanding. A cold laugh bubbled up in my throat. Let me get this straight. You want me to keep sending them money after they literally told me they love your kids more than mine? They didn't mean it like that, he grumbled. They said it, David. He had no response for that. After a moment, his voice turned stiff. Sign, if you want to be selfish, that's on you, but don't expect Mom and Dad to forgive you anytime soon. I smirked, shaking my head. I'll survive. Then, before he could argue, I hung up. For the next few weeks, my parents played the silent treatment game. No calls, no texts. I figured they were hoping I'd cave, come crawling back, begging for their approval like I always had. But what they didn't realize was that for the first time in my life, I didn't need it anymore. And just when I thought they'd finally given up, they pulled one last desperate stunt. It was the week before Christmas when the letter arrived. Mark found it in the mailbox, his brow furrowing as he read the sender's name. It's from your parents. I stiffened. Oh, great. Let me guess. Guilt trip, manipulation, or straight-up emotional blackmail? He smirked. Why don't we find out? I took the envelope, my stomach twisting as I tore it open. Inside was a formal-looking document, law office letterhead. My breath caught as I read the words. They were demanding reimbursement for years of emotional and financial support. I let out a disbelieving laugh. You've got to be kidding me. Mark took the letter, scanning it quickly. They're saying you owe them for raising you and for all the financial sacrifices they made for your well-being. He looked up, jaw tightening. Are they actually trying to bill you for your own childhood? Apparently they were. They had even included itemized costs, things like food, clothes, school supplies, medical expenses from when I was a child. And at the bottom of the page, a final sum, $87,350. I blinked. They seriously think I'm going to give them nearly 90 grand? Mark scoffed. They must be desperate. I exhaled slowly, anger burning through me. This wasn't about money. This was control, a final, desperate attempt to pull me back into their grip. I looked at Mark, my mind already made up. I think it's time I pay them a little visit. The next day, I drove to my parents' house, the crumpled letter in my hand. The neighborhood looked the same as always, the streets quiet under the morning sun. I knocked, and when my mother opened the door, her face immediately hardened. Oh, so now you show up? I didn't rise to the bait. I held up the letter. Did you seriously think this would work? She folded her arms. It's what's fair. I let out a sharp laugh. Fair? You want to charge me for being your child while expecting free money from me for the rest of your lives? My father, Mr. Peterson, appeared in the doorway, his expression smug. We sacrificed a lot for you, Sarah, and now you're abandoning us? I stared at them, shaking my head. No, Dad, you abandoned me. When you made it clear my kids weren't good enough, when you lied and financially exploited me for years, when you put a price tag on my worth as a daughter,
Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. "If you don't want to pay, then I guess we'll have to involve the lawyers for real." I met her gaze, unfazed. "Go ahead." She blinked, surprised. "What?" I crossed my arms. "Take me to court. Try to explain to a judge why you're suing your own daughter for expenses from 20, 30 years ago while she was secretly supporting you. See how well that goes over." Silence. For the first time, they looked unsure. Dad cleared his throat. "We just thought you'd want to make things right." I laughed. "Oh, I am making things right. Right now." I ripped the letter in half and then into more pieces, watching their eyes widen. "I'm done being your personal ATM." My mother gasped. "You ungrateful, thankless—" I turned on my heel. "Have a nice day," I called over my shoulder, striding back to my car. And for the first time in my life, I felt lighter. As I drove away, I realized something. They weren't upset about the money itself. Sure, they'd missed the convenience, but the real blow was that for the first time ever, I had all the power, and I wasn't giving it back. I thought that after ripping up their ridiculous demand for money, my parents would finally back off. That maybe, just maybe, they would sit in the wreckage of their own arrogance and realize they had pushed me too far. But people like them, they don't change. They just escalate. It started small. A text from my mom 2 days before Easter Sunday. "Mom, this is ridiculous. We're family. You don't turn your back on family over a silly argument." I ignored it. The next day, another message. "Mom, we forgive you. Come for Easter dinner and we'll forget this ever happened." I almost laughed. They forgave me? Then a few hours later, one from David. "David, they're really hurting Sarah. Just apologize so we can move on." I rolled my eyes. Funny, they weren't hurting when they were using my money without provision or when they told me my kids weren't welcome. I think they'll survive. I hit send and blocked his number. Then Easter Saturday arrived. Mark and I had just finished hiding chocolate eggs around the yard, and Leo and Lily were in their pajamas, racing around the living room, too excited for the Easter bunny to sleep. It was perfect. And then the doorbell rang. Mark and I exchanged a look. "No way," he muttered. I watched to the door and peered through the peephole. Sure enough, Mom and Dad. I considered ignoring them, but then I spotted what they were holding. A huge, beautifully wrapped Easter basket, overflowing with chocolates and stuffed bunnies. I sighed and opened the door. "What do you want?" My mother's face lit up with forced cheerfulness. "Happy Easter, sweetheart!" My father held out the basket. "For the kids." I folded my arms. "No thanks." My mother's smile wavered. "Sarah, don't be stubborn. Let's not ruin Easter over this." I shot back. "You already ruined Easter. When you told me my kids weren't good enough for your table, remember that." Her mouth opened, then closed. Dad sighed. "Come on, Sarah, let's just be a family again." I stared at them, feeling nothing but exhaustion. "You don't want to be a family," I said quietly. "You want me to go back to being useful." Their silence told me everything I needed to know. I shook my head. "Take your basket and go." My mother's expression hardened. "Sarah, don't be selfish. Think about the children." I smiled coldly. "I am thinking about the children. That's exactly why you're not in their lives anymore." Dad's jaw tightened. "You really want to do this?" I exhaled. I already did. And with that, I shut the door in their faces. That night, we had the best Easter ever. Leo and Lily hunted for eggs with infectious joy, their laughter echoing through the house. We had a lovely ham dinner, watched animated movies until they fell asleep on the couch, covered in chocolate smudges, and for the first time in my life, Easter wasn't about trying to prove my worth. It was about us. Real family, chosen family, the kind that doesn't come with conditions, the kind that doesn't make you earn love, the kind that loves you because they want to, not because they expect something in return. I thought that that was the end of it, that after being cut off financially, humiliated in their coercion attempt, and rejected at my front door with their guilt trip gifts, my parents would finally accept that I was done. But I underestimated how much control they still thought they had over me, because on Mother's Day, they did something I never saw coming. With every refusal, Sarah gets stronger. If you're rooting for her, make sure to subscribe to the channel to follow the next chapters of this journey. Mother's Day was supposed to be a fresh start, a day to celebrate, to leave the past behind, and step into a better future.
At least that's what I told myself as I set the table for a special brunch, laughter and the smell of baking quiche filling our home. Leo and Lily were buzzing with excitement, running around with the handmade cards they'd prepared at school, counting down the hours to give me their secret presents. Mark was pouring orange juice for us, a soft smile on his face. It was our day, our celebration. And then the knock on the door. I froze, my stomach twisting. Mark glanced at me. You think? I already knew. I walked to the door, took a deep breath, and opened it. And there they were. Mom, Dad, David, and David's wife, Karen. It was an ambush. I crossed my arms. What do you want? My mother smiled, but it was the same forced, sugary tone she always used when she wanted something. We just want to talk. I said flatly, no thanks. Dad sighed. Sarah, enough. You've made your point. Now let's fix this before things go too far.
I narrowed my eyes. Too far? What does that even mean? My mother exchanged a look with David. We just don't want this to affect the children. Something about her tone made my skin crawl. What are you talking about? David stepped forward, arms crossed over his chest as if he had been wronged. Mom and Dad have been talking to a lawyer. A cold wave of dread rolled through me. A lawyer? I repeated slowly. My mother nodded, her eyes gleaming with false sympathy. We're just worried, Sarah. You've cut your children off from their real family over a silly misunderstanding. That's not fair to them. I felt my pulse pound. What are you trying to say? Dad cleared his throat. We've been looking into grandparents' rights. For a moment, all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. Then I laughed. It wasn't a small chuckle. It was loud, unhinged, and sharp. They thought they could legally force their way back into my life? Into my kids' lives? David's face twisted. What's so funny? I wiped my eyes. Oh, you're serious? You think any judge is going to look at this situation and side with you? My mother's lips pressed together. We've done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong, I repeated, stepping forward. You financially exploited me for years. You treated my kids like second-class citizens, always diminishing them compared to David's children. And now because I finally cut you off, because I said enough, you think you can bully your way back in? Dad's face darkened. You don't want to do this, Sarah. I met his glare with a smile. Oh, but I do. I pulled out my phone and held it up. I want you to think very carefully about what you're about to do, I said, my voice cold. Because I have every text, every voicemail from you complaining, every request for a little help that was actually exploitation. I have bank statements that show the pattern, and I promise you, if you try this stunt, I will bury you. I'll show the judge, anyone who wants to see, exactly what kind of concerned grandparents you are. Karen gasped. Sarah, please. No, I snapped, my eyes locked on my parents. You have no case. You know it, I know it. And if you keep pushing me, I will make sure that everyone in your social circle, all your distant relatives, everyone at Dad's golf club sees exactly who you really are. A beat of silence. Then my mother's face twisted in anger. You're being unreasonable. I smiled. No, Mom, I'm finally being smart. I stepped back into my house and grabbed the doorknob. I hope you have a happy Mother's Day. And I slammed the door in their faces. They never went through with that pathetic legal threat. They knew they had nothing. They knew they had lost the war of attrition they themselves had started. The final bluff didn't work. In the weeks that followed, I heard nothing more from them. Not one resentful text message, not one tearful phone call from my mother to Mark trying to intercede. Nothing. And for the first time in my adult life, their silence wasn't a punishment, wasn't a weapon. It was freedom. The weight of their expectations, gone. The pressure to please them, to be the good and understanding daughter while they devalued me, vanished. The endless cycle of guilt, manipulation, and petty daily betrayals, broken. I could finally breathe. My shoulders, which I hadn't even realized were perpetually tense, relaxed. Months later, on a sunny spring afternoon, the kind with an azure blue sky and a gentle breeze rustling the leaves on the trees, I was sitting on our porch. Leo and Lily were running across the lawn chasing yellow butterflies that seemed to dance just for them. The sound of their laughter was the most beautiful soundtrack in the world. Mark handed me a glass of iced lemonade and sat beside me, putting his arm around my shoulders. "It's quiet, isn't it?" he commented, looking out at the same point on the horizon as I was. I nodded. Yes, a piece I didn't even remember existed. He smirked. "Think they'll ever try anything again? Maybe at Christmas?" I sipped my lemonade, watching my children tumble over each other and fall onto the grass, giggling. The afternoon sun painted their hair golden. "It doesn't matter," I replied, and for the first time, I truly felt it in the depths of my soul. It doesn't matter anymore. Because I had already won. I had my children, my real family, built on love, respect, and genuine joy. And I would never, ever allow anyone to make them feel unwanted or less important again. The revenge, in the end, wasn't about destroying them. It was about rebuilding myself. And that was worth every tear and every slammed door. Did Sarah's story resonate with you? From which city or state are you watching this journey of empowerment? Comment below where you're watching us from. And if you believe in the strength of someone who decides to say enough and reclaim their peace, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming empowering stories. See you next time.